Hello everyone, today we're working on a 2006 Lincoln Town Car. We're doing a rear differential service. We're going to be changing out the fluid, and the fluid we'll be putting in will be the AMSOIL Severe Gear 75W90. It's a chemically engineered synthetic. It resists the thermal runaway like no other and gives you much longer service life of the oil and also extends greatly the life of the differential. I'll be putting a link into this Technical Service Bulletin. This is from AMSOIL. It talks about the gear service for the differentials and the importance of it, and gives some examples in there of different time frames for changing the fluids. And also we're talking about thermal runaway. This here kind of gives you some idea how that cycle happens, and what happens in that cycle as you increase the load on the gears, you increase the oil temperature. As you increase the oil temperature, the oil thins, and that also in turn increases the friction and wear, which increases oil temperature higher, which thins the oil more. It's a vicious circle until you have gear failure. This oil resists that like no other, so it gives you much better protection for that differential and helps it last a lot longer. Another thing that I offer is gold plug magnetic drain plugs. Now these gold plugs use a neodymium magnet, which is the strongest magnets known to man, and the strength of them is quite phenomenal compared to the regular magnets they come with from the factory on these vehicles. And this bolt probably weighs about 1.25 pounds to 1.5 pounds. And the stronger that magnet is, the more metal it's going to pull out of that differential oil. So it helps the bearings last a lot longer. And I can give you an example of what happens when the differential gets neglected. That fine metal goes through the bearings over and over again, and it bruises the surface of the bearing. And as you bruise that surface, then it starts to delaminate or flake. And that's when the bearing starts to get very noisy. Here's the race here. You can see the flaking on that. This is from a differential that I'd rebuilt here a few years ago. So the gold plug coupled up with the AMSOIL will definitely help that differential last a lot longer. So I'm going to be going through the procedure of this and on this differential, and we'll be back with you. Okay, we're underneath the car at the rear differential, and you can see here this cover is going to have to come off because on the bottom some cars have a drain plug, this one does not. So in order to drain that fluid, that cover has to come off. We'll take all these bolts off right here. They look to be 13 millimeter. It's either 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch. I believe it's 13 millimeter. They're both about the same. But before we take anything loose, we want to get this dust and dirt off, especially any that's up here on top. Because when you go to take this cover off, if there's any dirt load up there on top, it's going to fall right down in on the gears, and it's just going to make a mess inside that housing. We don't want that dirt load inside that gearbox. So I'm going to take a wire brush, just a handheld wire brush. I'm going to go all around the outside, and I'm going to break anything loose that's around that cover, around that flange all the way. Then I'm going to take an air blow gun, and I'm going to blow it real good and get anything off that may be loose all around there before I take any of those bolts off. Okay, so that's the thing that's going to be kind of critical to start with, is keep everything clean. So then we're going to take the bolts out, and I'll use a it's siliconed on. You can see this here is a kind of a silicone from the factory. You can kind of see it here. It's what they use. And I'm going to use a basically a scraper and a hammer. I'll drive it up between here to break the bond between the case and the cover. And then I'll redo it with some fresh silicone when we go back together. Driveline fluid resistant silicone. And I'll show you what I'll be using on that. So we'll go ahead and clean this up and get back with you. Okay, we cleaned up with a wire brush around the cover all the way around, and we used compressed air and blew it all off, so we're ready to go. These are 1/2 inch. We're going to use a 1/2 inch socket on these, and we're going to bust all these loose around the outside here, and then we'll take that cover loose. There, we got the fluid all draining out. I'm going to clean up this cover and get all this silicone cleaned off, and we'll get a fresh coat on there. I'm also going to clean the housing after I get the inside all cleaned out as well. So we'll get to cleaning this and be back with you. Okay, we got that cover off. We're going to clean the what's left of that silicone off of this cast housing. And before I start, I take a couple of clean towels and I tuck them in up here so that any of this dirt or anything that gets knocked down, if you bump something above that might have dirt on it, it doesn't get on the gears and inside that gearbox. So we'll go around and scrape all this this leftover silicone off and get it down to the bare metal. And we're done with that. There's also in the bottom, there's a couple little wells down here that are full of oil, and you'll have to probably use your finger to get that out. And a lot of the fine metals like to settle out in there, and this stuff's got a little bit of metal flake color to it. And but you want to get all that oil out that you can. And I'll take a clean rag when I'm all done and make sure that's all nice and dry in there. And also I'll use a can of either brake clean or starting fluid, ether, and spray off that whole housing once I'm all done inside here, all the gears and everything. Get all that oxidation, because there's a lot of black oxidation on them gears, and I can kind of show you as we clean it with the ether. It really shines it right up and gets it off. But it kind of gets that black oxidation off. Just kind of helps get that dirt load out of that gearbox. You can kind of really see how it breaks it loose. So when I'm all done, I'll hit it with that ether and get everything clean and dry and clean out this well down here, and then we'll be ready to put that cover back on. So that kind of gives you some idea what needs to be done while you get that cover off. Okay, we sprayed down the whole housing. We got everything all clean as far as the flange area where the sealant's going to go, and we've been working on the cover. So we've been working on the cover. This little well down here in the bottom has been filling up with fluid, so we're getting ready to put the cover on. We want to make sure we get all that old nasty stuff out as much as we can. And you can kind of dip it out with your finger and get most of it. And when you're done with that, getting as much as you can that way, then go in with a paper towel and just soak it up. Biggest thing is if there's any dirt or anything in there or any pieces of metal, you gotta make sure you get it out, because that's where it'll be at. So we're gonna go ahead and finish cleaning this up nice and clean, and then we'll get ready to install that cover. And before we go to put that cover on, I'm going to take another clean rag with ether or brake clean solvent, and I'm going to clean that whole surface of this casting up so that there's no oil film on it whatsoever, so that silicone can adhere properly to it. So we'll get that all done and be back with you. Okay, we got this cover off and all cleaned up. This here is just some staining from the oxidation from the old oil. It's nothing to worry about. It's clean, it's smooth. The fluid we'll be using to seal this up, this is a Loctite Ready gasket. There's another one out there called Permatex Right Stuff. And the biggest thing you got to be concerned with is right here, powertrain fluid resistant. Okay, you want something that will handle those synthetic fluids that are going to be up against it. And the powertrain fluid resistant silicone is the stuff you want for these covers. I've been using this stuff for the better part of 20 years. I've never had an issue. It works beautiful. So when we go to put this on, we're going to put on a nice coat, probably about 1/16 of an inch all the way around it. And we're going to take our finger and get it kind of spread out even around all these bolt holes and let it squeeze out. We don't want a lot squeezing out, just enough so it seals up. There we go. We got a good probably 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch of the silicone all the way around. So it'll give us a good squeeze out. We've gone around each of the bowl holes, so that's about all you need right there. So we're going to go ahead and go underneath and get that bolted up. Okay, here we go. We're going to put it in. And these bolts. Let's see if I can find my home here. There we go. Right there. There it is. I'm going to put all these bolts in. They get torqued to about 20 foot-pounds of torque. So we're going to go ahead and pop all these in, torque them, and then we're going to go ahead and fill it up. So we'll be back with you. Okay, here's some of the old fluid. Give you some idea what it looks like compared to the new. Just a little bit of a difference there. Gives you some idea. The new stuff's almost clear, the old stuff's getting pretty dirty. So, okay, the old fill plug is a 1/2 inch, or I shouldn't say 1/2 inch, it's a 3/8. You use a 3/8 drive ratchet to get that out. And we're ready to fill this up. We've got a brand new gold plug here ready to go in place of that original one. So we're going to go ahead and fill it up. Alright, it is full. Let that run out till it just starts dripping, and then we'll put the plug in. Alright. And we'll see how much it holds. Looks like it's just over 5 pints. So 5 pints is about 2.5 quarts. And that's what that differential holds, real close to that. So we'll torque that down, and that's pretty much it for this differential. We're all done. Thanks for watching my video. Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/c/Donsoil. I'd like to introduce you to Amsoil Synthetic Lubricants. We have the most complete line of synthetic lubricants on the market that offer you greatly reduced wear, extended drain intervals, longer equipment life. You can check that out at my website, donsoil.com. I also have a website for looking up fluid capacities. It's fluidcapacity.com. You can go there and print off the capacity of your engine oil, cooling system, transmission, transfer case, differentials. Be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Don Synthetic Lubes. Thank you, and have a great day.